It is May 9th, 2023, the Nefio SIG automation workload cluster subproject. So I thought time is really ticking, guys. We're in the second week of May. I understand that we're trying to extend and probably extending the release to one more sprint. But how are we doing? I know I think the folk working on the SMF made progress. We're very close to PR, I think.
Yeah, I'm stuck on my testing because I'm returning, for example, get params. Returning a segment, right? A bunch of a stanza of YAML, but it's not matching what the NF deployment is expecting, and I'm struggling to try to map. You know what I mean? What you want and what you got are not matching, and I thought I got, the way I set up the returns is matching the NF deployment YAML, but it's not. So I may need some help from Vim.
Okay, yeah, I could help too. It's this is the most painful part, the changes in the KRM types.
Yeah, because it cascade from there to the deployment tasks, right? So the deployment tasks require the params, and if the params not working, deployment's not working, and blah blah blah.
So have you looked against the UPF test code? Because
the problem is I took out the N6 and N11 for now because so I only have N4 as a test, and it's still failing, which boggle my.
Okay.
This PR is not the correct one. Me and I yet to raise the fresh PR. This is with old NF definitions. So I need to cancel this.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'll ignore that. So do you feel you need some help from somebody, or is it just another a little bit more work to do?
Yeah, we'll raise the new PR with the new definition. This is with the old one, so I'll just cancel this one. And as
you can cancel, or if you push a commit to the PR, then GitHub will take it up. So you don't absolutely have to cancel this. You can continue working. You can even do a git push force if you want. You're allowed to do that on your own branch, and it will just update the PR automatically.
Okay. Currently, as Anne said, we are facing some issue with testing. That we will go through after this call.
Yeah. Okay, well, good. If there's progress, and I think you know exactly what to do. So please let us know if there's anything that blocks you, or if you need help. And I'm sure I can volunteer. Other people can volunteer. So we have, I think, we have another 2 PRs open. I know there's one that Stephen opened. Stephen, are you here? Okay, no. So this has basically been approved, but I'm not sure what merge it's waiting for. Oh, actually, I did ask Stephen if he wants to keep this. No response yet. So yeah, we have another one here from Victor. Victor, are you here? Okay, Victor is not here. So I'm not really sure what this is about. This is about adding more testing tools for Python.
No, I think it's more like a lint kind of a tool, spell checker. At least the spell checker seems like that. Though we could still use the Golang CI. I think he already added some of this. I don't know what the KO is.
Well, why is this in this repo then?
Maybe he wants to add a bit or two in that repo, because I think it's per repo. Maybe.
I think
I don't know.
Is this something we talked about adding to all projects?
No, I think he needs to, we already have a spell check in my view, because radio enabled 1. So I don't know what it is. We'll let's move on. Tal. I think
Okay.
we need to understand this. Yeah.
Okay, well, in that case, that's all we really have in terms of PRs. I think there was one more issue. There's the, I was just talking to, right, Denise was saying something about, and Sagar actually raised the issue, that we might need DNS configuration because UE ransom might need it. And I don't really understand the issue. Are either of them here? No. Oh, Dennis, you're here. Do you understand it maybe? Oh, Sagar, you're here too.
Yeah, I can tell you that. So what I was trying to say is so in our CRDs right now, the DNN is a list, and so you have a DNN, you have a list of you provide the name of the DNN and the pool of the DNN. And the UE will get the IP address in that particular pool. But then, if you will see, the UE also needs a DNS server.
Why does it need a DNS server? What is it?
Because
What
the
is it?
UE will resolve, let's say, google.com or facebook.com or whatever. So when you will connect a UE, you will, just for a demo, we will do a ping, right? A ping or IPO or anything. So if we do a ping with an IP address, that's okay. We don't need a name server. But if we would like to do it with like ping to google.com, then the UE needs to resolve google.com.
Okay,
you
yeah.
need the
So
DNS
we do want, we do want a user network that's separate from the Kubernetes and host networks, right? So it could be a different DNS.
In the charts which are there from, as I sent the link, in those charts, they haven't added the DNS configuration in the SMF. But if you see the original configuration of Free5GC, you can configure the DNS.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the charts are not definitive. There's somebody's, Orange's version of it. Yeah, that actually makes sense to me. You know, I'm inclined in terms of modeling to give kind of the idea of a public network its own CR, its own, you know, set of properties, because it might be used by other components too, right? Not just here, but I don't know, in terms of a configuration for specifically for UE, I tend to agree. I think that we should add the ability to configure maybe a global DNS override, right? By
Yeah,
default.
do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I just wanted to say that, well, DNS is like UE goes to internet through the GTP tunnel to the UPF, and that DNS sits somewhere in provider's infrastructure. So it's not part of Kubernetes itself. So 888 just for the proof of concept is fine. But later on, let's say, like if you do more complete setup, there should be DNS which resolves names, and of course, like every operator, they have their own DNS infrastructure. So this should be configured. Default 888 is fine, but it should be like in the config map.
Yeah, no, I think 888 is not fine, actually. I think you're absolutely right.
Like for proof of concept, it is fine, but
sure. Well, I think what we could do is not actually, I think if you want to give it a default, don't go to 8888, but maybe go to the default used locally by the Kubernetes host. So you can just look up your current default. I think that's better.
Yes, but that will not be reachable by UE.
Yeah, but I think the right way here is basically, I mean, if we really want to have this configurable, put it in the DNN. There is a DNN CR, we can add DNS there, and then it comes from the blueprint package, and then the operator can customize it. But okay, nobody gave that requirement, but so for me, that's the best solution here. So the DNN, we can add a DNS or 2 DNS server entries. and do it like that. But we can do. At the moment, this was not foreseen, but if we need it, it's not a big deal because it just trickles down to from there, right? But question is, do we need to do that right now, or can we wait and say, okay, we take a default, and then we can able to customize it going forward?
Sure, we can wait. I think let's create an issue for this.
Yeah,
So,
correct. So create an issue on the yeah. So we can add those parameters. It's not a problem. But the question is probably right now. It's I think we have other problems to get through in my view. So, but let's say I agree. Let's raise an issue and then we'll tackle it going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Sagar did suggest adding it to the DNN.
I
DNN, DNN of the
some changes.
deployment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Wim. It should belong, I think, as part of the DNN, because actually other components, right now we just have UE run SIEM, but I can absolutely imagine other components needing a general configuration of the global network, right?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think it's not a problem. I think, but let's add it. Let's ensure that we raise the issue, or we create a PR, and then we can do what either way. But,
yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me. So, Sagar, do you want to create this issue?
I'll do that. Actually, I already did the changes. So if you guys are fine, I can make a PR if you want. I only did in the workload ones. Like I sent the link on the chat, if you can see. I added the DNS name servers. It was really quick in the chat of Zoom, actually.
Oh, okay. Sure. Let me see.
Sagar, where do you get the DNS entries from if they are not inside DNN right now?
So if you see the message which I wrote on that particular chat, so you will see that I sent the link of the Helm charts which we're gonna use as a basis to make the operators. So I think if you don't mention anything, then then the SMF will take a default DNS, I suppose. 8.8.8 or something is default, but you can configure in the SMF configuration file, because actually the whole problem is when people will start testing, with these operators, they will deploy in their environment, and sometimes in their environment, a lot of companies' environment, 8.8.8 is blocked. So they will try to ping Google and they will not be able to, and they will think that something is wrong. So they will be unhappy. So that's why I said this. You can see in the chat, I have also mentioned both the links actually, the Helm chart and the SMF configuration from FreeFileGC.
We are not using Helm charts here to configure SMF, right?
But
so
right,
the operators are based on those Helm charts, right?
Well, yeah, inspired by.
Inspired.
Yeah,
exactly. There is no direct link between them. So you you take output from the Helm chart and make sure that what is created by your controller, let's say, it resembles it, because Helm chart, it takes values and then transforms them into config map, and that config map is given to SMF. So basically, if there is no value like 888 anywhere in the controller or CR itself, which is coming from package management, there will be no DNS. As simple as that. Hope I'm clear.
Well, there is a configuration pattern, I understand, that UE ransom can use, a parameter, right? So
yeah, it's not UE ransom, it's the SMF, and the SMF is the one which will send to the UE ransom the DNS information.
Oh, okay, I see. So it defaults to something right now?
So if you will click on the actual configuration of FreeFileGC GitHub, which I sent, the last line, yeah, this is the configuration which we will give to the operator.
I see. So we hard-coded it for now. Yeah.
Yeah. So either we change it in the operator itself, or we change it when we deploy it using the CRDs. It's a choice.
You create a config map inside your controller, right? What do you put there as this DNS info?
I don't know.
Right now, this is obviously hard coded. I don't. There's no information from from intent that would give a DNS.
But then there should be a file
yeah.
somewhere in the repository which has this hard-coded value. I have not seen it.
Well, let's do a quick search.
I mean, it should be in 35GC SMF controller.
No,
Yeah.
no. So it is it's not. It's not encoded anywhere actually at this point. So everything that we don't have information from the intent will be just hard coded. So we generated something that is hard coded.
I mean, it could be that Free5GC itself has a default, right? We don't know. Well, it gets it from somewhere. Oops, right?
From file which is generated, I guess, and placed.
Yeah, but if we generate the file, we're generating the file.
Yes, this is but this is what I'm saying. I have not seen that file anywhere, even just a template which includes some values.
Okay, so this is part of the issue that we're using upstream, the upstream prepackaged operators, container images, right? So we have our own wrapper script, and there's something that they use environment vars, but anyway, yeah, we need to. It's not so good that we don't know where this comes from. So I still have that PR assigned to me to do the container images. I was waiting for Linux Foundation to tell us that our Docker Hub is okay, but I don't have to wait for it. I can start building images with my own Docker or whatever, and just to get the process running. I'll try to figure this out because yeah, I don't like it when there are defaults that we don't know about.
The problem with this approach that there are some values inside those configurations which you don't know on the stage where you build build container.
Yeah, I mean, could it be inside the code?
What's that going to do with building containers? The config map is not embedded inside a container.
Right. But like what Tal wants to do, he wants to avoid wrapper scripts, right? And those wrapper scripts, they contain some specific values for, let's say, the specific UPF or SMF deployed on H cluster, or like more cloud cluster.
Right. Yeah. Right. I do. We have that wrapper script.
So this is not wrapper. This is actually the real configurations. This is the
if
XMF,
you look,
this is the actual 5GC configurations. So correspondingly, we have just like what you did, Dennis. We have a template for SMF.
Yeah.
And then for fields that are something we can parameterize, we parameterize. For things that we don't know where it come from yet, at this point we hard code. So moving forward, if we don't hard code, the package would have to contain those values, right?
Correct. But idea of Tal was to put some configuration, some files inside the container and pre-build them, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, for start,
you want to have like a container that has configurations that come from container. I'm not sure that's a good thing to do in general.
Well, this is hacky as hell. So at least at first we can include it in the container image, so we don't have to kind of attach it. So we can have control for container images. But yeah, I would really want in the future to this to be much better. But yeah, I just want to figure out right now, at least, right? You can see here where we're setting the data networks part of the config. I want to figure out how Free5GC gets its DNS right now and what it uses. But in any case, I think this is a bit unrelated to the PR that Cigar made. I mean, we need to be able to configure DNS servers anyway. But I'm just generally saying that our whole configuration method is a little bit of a mess right now. it's a combination, right? On the one hand, we're creating the config map, and on the other hand, we have this weird script. And on the third hand, there's whatever Free5GC defaults to, right? If it doesn't get values from the config.
Okay.
So combination of things.
It might not default to anything, might just
That's
fail.
also true,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we
And
haven't
I
tested it.
don't.
and it
I'm
might-
actually even not sure if it's used in this case because the orange demos that I've seen, they're using explicit IP address anyway. So I don't think they need to do any DNS lookup on the data network side, on the N6
Well,
side.
you don't absolutely need to, but it's right. If you're creating a user network, I mean, this is a feature. We want to be able to expose all the
Yeah,
features.
yeah. And then it goes back to this is basically we're missing this parameter somewhere in the package.
Exactly.
So that's a much better place to fix this than put it in a container. That's what I'm saying.
Right. No. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
just saying I don't want it to be hard coded in the container. I'm
Oh
just
no,
saying-
yeah, we don't want to hard code it anywhere. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rado has.
But if we want our code, imagine, these. Yes, we have Nefio. We have the specialization parts that are supposedly filling up, all the data that we need. But anybody could use these operators without Nefio too, right? So we want to have some sensible defaults, some validation. I mean, these operators should stand on their own, right? So yeah, this is just a feature that needs to be figured out. If they have some sort of default, maybe we need to supply it in part of our, or give a warning in the log that there is no default, something, point is, it just can't be ignored. It is a feature, an important one. So yeah, thank you very much for raising it. We'll delve into this a bit deeper.
Sorry, if I may, sorry, I mean, there was in the chart, and in Orange is not using anything default, actually. They were just providing in some other location. I sent that also. So it's exactly similar to SMF configuration. In their charts also, they were defining it in a location I just sent you. It was again on the Zoom chart.
Okay.
So
They obviously get the
It-
values that actually
yeah,
that
so
value that
it's
YAML
okay.
somewhere.
you can use their image also. It's not a big of a deal,
Mhm.
And when we make the operator, we can define a value there. So it's,
Yeah, but then so Nefio supposedly is to spit out what is in the values that YAML, right? So this is well the configure value is supposed to come from the model. So we're missing this element, obviously, in the model or any of the SNSSAI stuff. Actually, we didn't put that on any part of the model.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there are two sides to this. The operator has to support this, and then the specialization pipeline.
Mhm.
So okay.
Rado
So
has a hands up.
Yeah. So who's looking at who did you assign to review the PR, Sagar?
yeah, I haven't, so I'll just do it now.
Okay.
I tell me whom I should.
Who should look at it? I guess any of us.
I'll add all of you. I mean, I'll add you, Zim, Stefan, and then whoever is available, you can comment.
Sure.
I think there is two parts to this PR probably, and maybe we have to split it in two. There is one thing associated to how you deal it in the operator, and then the second is how you do it through the whole pipeline, right?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, but I saw that the PR that this it's not a required property, right? So if you don't submit it, it'll still be valid for the CR. So the question too is that the operator code itself has to give it some sort of sensible default.
Yeah,
Or
correct. Yeah, that's why I'm saying is split it in two. One is how to deal with it if you don't get the value from the pipeline, if you will, right? And make sure that we have a strategy.
Yeah, thinking about it some more, I don't think there should be any default. I think this is a security issue, right? So
Right.
if the user didn't set a DNS explicitly, then there should be no DNS support. I don't
I
think
agree.
it should be 8888 at all.
I agree,
Okay.
but
Right.
right now, yeah, we only did a subset of the parameters, right? So we even have it for NSSI for the slicing IDs and stuff like that. So we have this mix at the moment.
Yeah, you know, obviously this is not a critical feature. You don't need DNS even to be able to do a ping, right? So, but this
Mhm.
goes towards our, you know, we want to have UE ransom working at the end to end. So
Yeah,
this will
sure.
definitely be nicer, yeah. Okay, yeah, so not critical, but thank you for raising this issue. It's definitely important. So let's look at the
Rado has his hands up for a while.
oh, sorry, yeah, I can't see it when my screen is shared. Please go ahead, Rado.
Yeah, hey, sorry for interrupting. Bala asked me yesterday to join this meeting to ask about building the images. Seems like I'm coming in a good time. So to answer your question, Tal, our Docker Hub account is currently converted to the organization OSS. We seem to have no limits there, as with any normal organization account. So we're good to go there. And for 35GC repo, there is already built system in place to produce images and push them to this Docker Hub. Every commit and then every tag from the release, which starts with V and the numbers, will produce images that are tagged in the first case with a build ID and with the second with the tag version or the tag name. And I was just gonna ask for the rest of the projects. Will we have some like a Docker files or something to build those, or how is it?
Well, we talked about it generally. I think there was even an issue for SIG number 3 about it that I opened. I kind of like to use Builda. I think it's a much more easier tool to use than Docker files. But
it is, but sorry, it's been quite a lot of work, and I just briefly looked into it, and it will be a bit more hassle to make it work. So probably after R1, we can make a point to convert to
I mean,
Builda.
it supports Docker files too. It could be a drop-in replacement for Docker.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can you point me to where the code is where you're right now pushing the images?
So on a Docker Hub, it's the Nephew, and then there are.
Did you just do it manually?
No, it's well. So for now, there are images that are used in CI. But for a 35GC, well, nobody committed anything. Nothing was merged since I enabled it. So none of the jobs went so far. So what I have here is it's only those images used in CI. But if you're interested how the image gets built, right now I'm using Kaniko. It's pretty simple. You just basically pass the context, so the running folder and the Docker file as a parameters, and then it uses just Docker credentials mounted as a Kubernetes secret to authenticate and to push them to Docker Hub. So the job configuration itself, if you go to our test infra repo, it's in the main config.
So the test infra repo.
Yep.
By the way, the Docker image is it docker.io/nephew?
Yes.
So where do I find it?
Yeah, and Rado, thanks, Rado. That I was gonna point out, Charles, when you were talking about Docker, but anyway.
Let me maybe put this in the chat.
And Rado, you also said something about the user, the ARG user and the other user yesterday. You want to give the details?
Yeah, the credentials, because Where are the credentials stored actually?
Right. Yeah. So for the job itself, the credentials are mounted from the Kubernetes secret as a file in a pod that executes the job. So I had to when you convert the account to organization, and the same applies to GitHub as well. The user on which this account was created is no longer used to logged in, so you have to designate a separate user to be a manager of this account. So this same thing happened with our account here. So we no longer have this user Nefio. So I created a new one, like a Nefio bot or something like this.
So do you
And
personally have the credentials for the account?
sorry, come again?
Do you personally have the admin credentials for the account?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got it from Lucy. She's also got them. Okay, so in a config, and it starts getting enormous, but let me quickly find. Okay, this one.
Yeah.
Probably permalink. I will put it in chat. So that's
I
one
think
of the.
I just found it here. Do you see my screen?
No.
Sorry.
I see your Docker Hub.
I think, yeah, I was sharing a lot of stuff and nobody saw it. Okay, great. All right. Yeah, I didn't share my full screen. Okay, so yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I was. All right. So, okay, terrific. So I have never heard of Kaniko before, so it is a tool, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of these tools. There's the KO. There's a builder. There's a lot of them.
Is it part of the Prow project or is it separate?
No, that's separate project.
Okay. All right. So I see here. This is where it mounts the secret. Yes. Okay. This is actually perfect. So the reason you said we couldn't support Builder is, I guess, Kaniko right now doesn't have it inside its image.
I mean, now with Builder, there was something else. It needed different image because of the dependencies with like a glibc or something. Or I don't remember, but there was something. I remember somebody else also investigated it, and it looked like it was a bit more hassle to implement. So I had this working, so I just switched to other tasks.
No, excellent. You did a lot of the work for me already. I think the issue that I would need to work on here. Oops, where was it here? So yeah, the doc. Okay, I'll look into this. Okay, I won't bother everybody here right now. Okay, so let's see. Anything else? I don't think we have new issues on our board. We're just moving issues from the last sprint.
There's one thing, Steven, in the API repo for the peer config. Are you okay with the review there? Because I think there is a dependency for SMF there. So there's an issue for me, OpenTal. I think I just commented it to provide the configuration on the SMF. So there is a PR. Let me give you the number. In API, so it's waiting for Steven to say yes or no.
Yeah, last week I was talking to An, and then we briefly look at it. I'll put some comment on it. I guess I'll look at it again. Yeah.
So this is PR 17 is basically so the.
Yeah. Well, we actually opened it during the sessions, but then we decided not to do that one first, and then unblock Varesh and on getting something in. But yeah, let me take a second look.
Okay.
This may be sorry. This may be a good time to ask this question. But I'm having some controller gen problem because KubeBuilder doesn't recognize SMF in my local environment. I need some help to make that change.
Huh. You want You want to cut and
Okay.
paste the error message on Slack?
I think you can check UPF deployment, which I have checked in, because like you have to point to the API files, type files from the
Did
API.
you make a change
repository.
directly on go.mod or something? Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Benny?
well, I suggested that for now a hack is to do replace commands in your go.mod because
Oh, yeah.
the issue,
Okay.
the issue is that so the controller runtime project
Mhm.
is a little bit behind in terms of support for Kubernetes clients. So it requires an older version of Kubernetes client. But since we're importing things from the API repository, we're using the go.mod there. It's how, so the way Go resolves versions of dependencies, it just goes for the greatest one. So it tends, yeah, so we have a conflict of versions. So the only way to resolve it right now is on our side, when we import from Free5GC, we force it to be a certain version. But I think we're already doing this in Free5GC. So I wonder why you still have this problem. Are you merged? Are you?
I did a fork and a sync from Free5GC about
Here are the
middle of
replaces.
last week.
Okay, yeah. So if you have these 3 replace lines in your branch, then
Hold on a second, let me check.
yeah, you might have a different issue then.
Yeah, I do have them. There are
Okay.
0.26.1.
Yeah. So whatever issue you have is different. So yeah, please post on Slack and we'll see
Yeah.
what we can all help.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sure.
Because I think that's one of the reason my test is failing. Is set controller gen blah blah blah. So I'm like, huh.
Well, from what I
Anyway.
saw from the PR, it was different, but you said you guys are already ahead of that. So okay.
Yeah, that PR. I'm not so sure where that PR came from, so I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, it might be old. Okay, I'll ignore it. Okay, I think let's see. I have so many tabs open right now. Oh, there was something, Stephen, I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
There was a kind of old PR.
Okay.
Too many tabs. So there was one PR on Free5GC. This one. I don't know. It's from 3 weeks ago. Do you think we still need it? I mean, if it's still, I feel like the CRD.
What is that one? Actually, I don't remember. This is a doc, right?
That was informational for SMF, UPF, and MF deployment, where you tried to explain how to.
Yeah, it's been hanging around for a while.
Yeah, actually, no, I think you did a lot of work here, but I think maybe it needs to be updated. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, let me update it then. Yeah, because it doesn't have peer
Right.
info. Yeah, so which is the thing that Vim just talked about. So I haven't added in the new peer config mapping.
Yeah.
So I can add that and then I'll, I guess, resubmit it to the reviewers.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and here, here we can see when you documented it, the awkwardness of using the wrapper for some of the.
Yeah, but then if you look at it from GitHub directly, the empty files get rendered and it looks much nicer. I promise you.
Yeah. No, this is good to have it explained, because that's exactly it. That somebody trying to understand the code right now without documentation is very confusing, right? You don't really understand what this wrapper is and why it's separate. So I think it's laid out very nicely. Okay. All right. I think then. Okay, back to here. So where are we? Let's look at where we are right now. I think
for sure we have a bit of a risk on AMF. I haven't seen any progress on AMF. No, this is definition. Definition is checked in, but then I haven't seen any controller side progress yet.
Yeah, I remember reaching out and not getting a.
Yeah, Vishal and Ronak. I pinged them several times. I haven't seen any.
Yeah, me too. So,
I mean, given that we're on to the last development sprint, I think we should plan for taking over.
okay, yeah, let's ping one more time, and if not, we'll reassign it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, yeah. Okay. I kind of feel like AMF relative to the other ones would be pretty easy. Or
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's
So SMF is very tough because of the config.
Yeah,
But
SMF is the hard.
AMF is basically using Danny's library, the utils.go. It should be relatively simple.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that bad. I'm just saying, you know. But then we're on the final development sprint, so we
Right,
can't wait.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, a
we've
lot of
been
what we,
patiently waiting, but then at this point, I don't think we can wait.
I know. Yeah, no, this is right. I mean, we generally wanted to give people an opportunity to join and contribute, but if they're not stepping up, then so let's ping them one more time, and if not,
Okay.
one of us can just take it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's just going to be a lot of copy and paste from UPF.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
the main problem is the template and config map there, because
right.
it's
That's
bigger,
right.
right?
It's still
More-
generating deployment. The deployment, in
Right.
fact, pretty much looks exactly the same as SMF, other than the image name, obviously. And there's actually no entry point wrappers and UE routings and stuff too, so that's actually simpler. But again, someone has to do the work, write the unit tests and other stuff. And the config is actually significantly simpler than SMF, but it's still, someone has to do it. And you know, at this point, I think, you know, one of us would have to probably take it.
Well,
Hey,
you know,
Stephen?
maybe one
Sorry.
more
Yeah.
kick.
Go ahead. On.
Sorry, Tal. If you can help me get past these tests, then I can tackle contribute part of AMF, because it will be reinforcing my learning curve by doing it again for a different network function.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. 2 weeks though. Beware.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've been, just FYI, I've started interviewing at a couple companies, so that's where I've been focusing my time. But yeah, I
Yeah.
need to wrap this up.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, let me take a look at your stuff, and then
Yeah,
hopefully we can help
just
you
really
unblock.
quickly, I don't want to take too much
hope-
time here, but do you have time after this? Like,
No, not after this.
yeah.
Not after this. Sorry. Take care of
okay,
kids.
what time do you have today?
Let me see. Maybe around 10, hopefully 10 a.m.
Sure, that works.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah,
okay. Well,
guys,
Yeah.
okay, if you sync, just put the link to Zoom into the Slack. I'm probably going to join as well.
Yeah, Denny's
Yeah,
can
that
help you,
would-
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll create Zoom and put it in the SIG auto workload Slack.
Are you,
Yeah,
are you still?
if you can also provide the link to your repository where you have
Yeah,
already.
that too.
It's already there
Okay.
in
yeah,
the
I'll
SIG
check
auto
out.
workload.
Okay, I have a feeling SMF is almost done. So we
Almost,
really
but-
have almost, yeah.
You know, the
So-
tests are not working, so it's bugging me.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think, okay. Anyway, I'm sure we'll be able to fix them today. It's really just the pain of, as you said, adapting it to the structure of the CRs.
The NF deployment, yeah.
Okay,
I'm
well,
not seeing it in my head. That's why I need help.
that's why we're all working here together. So it's good.
Yes.
Let's see, anything else that is burning?
Oh,
Other
one more thing from yesterday's 6.3 meeting. I think Bala and I talked about it a little bit. It turns out SMF, AMF, and NRF needs to run in the same cluster.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
Just want to make sure this is out there, so we don't create like a different topology.
Well, that makes life easier.
Is
Uh,
that for R1 only?
Well, for
Meaning-
3.5GC only.
Oh, okay.
I can't speak for other network functions, but yeah, for network function vendors, but then for 3.5GC, we need that because all over the configurations, I would imagine even outside of NRF and AMF and SMF, all the other things like AUSF and UDM probably need to run on the same cluster too. But I haven't really examined, so I can't say that for sure. But at least for those three, they need to, because on the configurations, they reference to each other using names. And we're not going to have our DNS hosted somewhere, anywhere. And we're not adding a global DNS entry somewhere. As such, they need to leverage the Kubernetes DNS for name resolutions. And then they need to be in the same cluster for that to work.
well, I mean, we could do use IPAM, our IPAM implementation right now.
And we
and
don't have the IP address yet at that point, because we're using the service IP allocated by Kubernetes, and then that one would not be resolved by at the time of the left side until
yeah, you're right.
the
It would
service
have
is,
to make
yeah.
differently, right?
Yeah, until the service is posted, and then you can allocate the IP. So the left side at the point of pushing the config would not be able to get the IP address.
You know, this is some of the limitations of our approach, right? But these are the kind of issues that we want to be able to handle in FEO. So
yeah,
I mean, these are the big tricky issues, right? That you
yeah, and then
that you
2
can
weeks
make problems.
2 weeks away from integrations, the tricky issues will probably just
Yeah, exactly.
release note them.
Yeah.
But I just want to put it out there, so we now know. And we always expected that anyway. That I think we have 4 clusters that we created for the ONE Summit. If we use the ONE Summit testbed, and then 2 of them are for UPF, 1 of them is for everything else, and then 1 of them for management. So it's not like we ever wanted to push SMF and AMF on different clusters. So it should be okay.
Yeah,
But it is a limitation for sure. We wouldn't be able to
yeah,
get around it.
I'll just mention, I don't think we could use it, but I think Submariner has a cloud native solution to that, to kind of
okay.
sharing the,
Hmm.
but it's probably not good enough for telco use cases.
So Stephen, do you mind posting, Stephen or Bala, what the limitations of you found? That information will be great on the channel.
Okay, yeah.
On the
Let me-
workload
let me-
channel. That'll be
Yeah,
great.
let me.
Good info.
I mean, documented will be very strong, but maybe like write an email or something.
No. I was just asking for how you guys found the information, where the source of
Oh
information.
no. So
was.
it was actually, no, you were in a meeting yesterday. So we talked about the service IP.
Oh yeah.
And then once that was supposed to be, so you still need to give a service IP. So that's not going away. Your metal LB stuff needs to still be part of the testbed. But then another thing is, how do we propagate that back into config? Because SMF configs and AMF configs both have reference directly to NRF. And then, well, the only way to do that is, the same cluster then.
Yeah,
Because,
I mean,
okay.
so
everything
our
we
internal
do,
limitation.
let's be
basically.
honest, everything we do,
Hmm.
Orange already proved that it works.
Mhm.
So we're not doing anything like majorly outlined. It's just that they put everything in the same cluster.
Okay.
We at least will have to attempt putting the UPF on a different cluster, because that would be a more normal deployment. And then
to clarify, this isn't a limitation of 3.5GC, it's a limitation of how we're using Kubernetes here, right? So it's
pretty much. Yeah,
3.5GC doesn't care which cluster they're in, it just needs to reach
I
them.
do think we have to solve that problem at some point, probably
Yeah.
not in our one though.
Yeah,
If we have anything.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
The
Sorry, Ben.
correct solution, I think, is DNS. Like any kind of discovery should be handled by DNS. So everybody has their own DNS, for their network. So it's probably part of our test bed. We should set up an external DNS service and not just use the Cube DNS, right, for the internal one. So
yeah, that
yeah,
limits where we can the topology. So obviously it's not like a right solutions, quote unquote. It's just that it's the solution that we can do now.
right, yeah, it's good enough to run it in one cluster. So
yeah, it's good. It's
but
good enough
that-
for R1 in terms
Okay.
of
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll document that maybe in a issue or something. It's okay. Actually, Bala wanted me to document the other things too for the service IP, so I'll have to do both.
Okay, I know
That was
not
the-
everybody is interested in it, but we have made progress on the Watcher agent code. So that's another part of what we're handling here, but this is myself and Arvin mostly working on it, so we're not really involved in it.
Can we drag it to the in progress then? Can we just drag it?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It should be in progress. So let me see if Arvin updated something. Yeah, it's assigned actually to me and you, Stephen.
Yeah. So actually, Arwen is still not committed to make this work, but he tested it because his own personal unit test on the ESA side, on the Edge the status aggregator side.
Okay,
But
put in-
well, at the end of the day, when we put it into separate clusters and everything, we have to make sure those works. it's still you and me. But yeah, we can put it on. We put Arwen there. So Arwen has a very validated with his ESA code. He's able to push something through gRPC, so push a CL down to Watcher agent running on the same cluster right now, and then the Watcher agent doesn't like die when it's running there.
Yeah.
So that's great. But then the next thing we do would be the Watcher agent actually runs on a different cluster, and then we will make sure that plumbing is working between them, so that we can, well, the CL pushing shouldn't be a problem, but then the gRPC we have to make sure that it works. And things like
Yeah,
that.
I'm working on the other side for the aggregator.
Yeah, my understanding is you're working on the ESA side. So for the integration, the three of us have to do some integration by the end of this week, or plan to do some integration by the end of this week. So that's on the side of NS topology, post deployment, and the ESA stuff. So that should hopefully by the end of this week.
I was hoping to finish it last week, but I am not done.
Okay. And then once we have that, we spin up our Watcher agents on the Edge clusters, and then we want to make sure that the CL pushing should be no problem, but then we have to then make sure that the gRPC is working.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second thing would be, obviously, when the Watcher agent's running, we want to make sure that the UPF deployment and UPF and SMF, what they roll on the status, would be able to be read by Watcher agent. I don't expect any problem there, but then we would have to test it. A little unit test, a little integration test.
Yeah, I mean, the big pain is the same pain that we're feeling everywhere.
Obviously, my son is here now.
Oh, you got
contribute?
extra help, actually. Cheating.
So, we're in the postmortem that we're going to have for R1. I think one thing that's going to come up is Go is really, the wonderful thing about Go is that it is statically typed, but it's also a very painful thing when dealing with things like this. I think every time we change our models a little bit and changing the tests and everything, it's painful, right? So obviously, like a language like Python would not have to change the code as much. The tests would fail, right? Because the data is different. But with Go, we have this extra step that every time something changes, it's not just the content, it's also the types. So we're constantly casting types here and there and checking types. And I don't know, for me at least, working through this, on UPF, on the Watcher agent code is a very painful part of the process. But this is something that's well known about working with Go and with Kubernetes too, right? Because you're dealing with a lot of this structural.
Isn't it true, Tal, for any strongly typed language?
Yeah.
Yeah, C++, Java all have that problem.
Exactly true. Yeah.
Hey, Tal, I'm not rewriting SMF in Python. Thank you.
No, you're going to be writing it in TypeScript, actually. So.
Oh God, no.
No. I mean, these are conclusions. It's part of the experience to learn, right?
We'll write an operator SDK, and then ChatGPT would just generate the operator after that.
I mean, I wonder, for example, if it's better for the test to possibly be written in Python rather than Go, right? Anyway, I'm not coming to conclusions. I think it's just important to have data points about the experience, right? So just pointing it out here, because I feel like that's something that's been painful for all of us, right? So,
I think it's about getting comfortable. I mean, there was
actually, seriously, sorry.
Go ahead.
Since AMF hasn't been written. We could try Python.
No.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
We are
yeah.
the Q builder framework only works with Go.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I mean,
Mm.
there's a very good Python SDK for operators called KOPF, K-O-P-F.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very comprehensive, very cool. I think it has some really nice ideas in it, and it's probably worth doing a POC at some point. So one of the themes for Nefio R2 will be to, our experiences here from the workload cluster subproject, we wanted to make it very easy for vendors to create operators, right? So the lessons we learned here from the postmodern, this is why I'm mentioning, are very important because we want to move them forward to how do we create an SDK for Nefio that makes it very easy to create network function operators, right? So we did a lot of great work, I think, in the specialization subproject for creating an SDK to make it easy to make KEP functions, right? So you have a lot of utilities there that make it easy to work with common Kubernetes types. We need something equivalent, I think, for us here. So the question is, what are our design principles? What are our goals? So we'll get to that. I think that would be very fun, but it wasn't for R1. It wasn't at all a goal, right? So we don't have it yet. Anyway, something to think about.
Yeah,
2 minutes
that's a great
left.
point, Carl. Since we're almost on the top, I just want to bring 2 points top, if you don't mind. So one is obviously this is the first sprint, and in theory, the final development sprint for us. So we need to at least get the things. I mean, at least the code complete this sprint and probably start integration testing towards the end of this sprint, or even in the whenever that is possible. The other thing is there are some issues here at all about, say, second one from the to-do list, configuration updates to 5G supports configuration update. That's basically UPF, SMF configuration changes, essentially the scale out changes. So are we even considering those?
No, I mean, I don't think this is in scope. Where
So because this is
I
the
don't understand it entirely.
the
I think we're no longer focusing on operators. We're using KEP functions. Oh, but okay, I see on the workload cluster side.
So basically this is like the user story or a user journey, whatever the SIG one wants to call it, of the lifecycle management of
Is it okay? Is that still in scope? I'm just wondering.
yeah, that's the big question actually. I mean, if not, probably we need to I'm bringing this because probably tomorrow we need to discuss this in our SIG automation.
We should talk about that.
We are adding we need to phrase it in such a way that we are adding a lot of other things. We are adding other 5G.
So basically you need to regenerate the config map and then reload the pod, basically. The pod and backup. Yeah.
So a limitation of Kubernetes, which really annoys me, is that if you update the config map and Kubernetes does nothing. The config map is used when the pod is created, and never again, right?
Well, to be fair, you also want the application to have a chance to like monitor the config map, I notify it or something, and then be able to online change configuration without like rebooting itself. So we don't want to rebooting itself shouldn't be like the default behavior.
Well, the thing is, it's not updated on the pod. That's the thing. So if you update the config map, the pod has no idea that the config map was changed because the file is copied. It's not actually mounted.
Oh.
So it's only copied at that moment of creation of the pod. So it's a very common aspect, and there is an operator called reloader that kind of does that for you, which is kind of nice to give a general purpose solution. But we could, because we are generating that config map, we can definitely do it ourselves. So I don't know. I feel like this is a very important feature, but we haven't designed it. We haven't discussed it much. It seems very late to add it.
I can try to add watcher for UPF. because code is almost there. So I can try to just as an example and proof of concept, add a watcher for config map, and if it changes, just kind of it reloads it.
But actually, no, the config map changes because of your operator, right?
Yeah.
So have you tried that, Denise, to modify the UPF deployment and then regenerate another config map
No, I haven't.
while UPF is running? Have you tried that? That may be something
No.
interesting to try. I
Yeah.
suspect the code doesn't work as is. You probably have to do something.
Right, and since we're actually using a deployment, it's easier because I think all we need to do is restarting the pods through a deployment is easier because you just if you delete the pods, the deployment.
Yeah,
will
because there's already deployment there. So delete
Yeah.
just kill the pod will come back.
It's actually
Yeah,
the
but-
replica set controller is the one
Yeah,
doing it.
we
right?
just want to make sure we do want to make sure that the update of the config map happens and happens correctly. So let's
Yeah,
do that.
that's part of the
Just a time
reconcile
check. We are over, and there is one more meeting, I think. So
Okay.
I think let's bring this in tomorrow's meeting, Stephen and Tal. This is about the scope, right? We can bring it in tomorrow's SIG automation meeting. It's a wider
Yes.
meeting, and then we can discuss that.
Yeah, I would say this is a nice to have
Yeah.
at this point.
Okay.
Okay, Dennis, I did assign you to this, but just for research. I mean, you're not expected to implement this, just so you know.
Well, yeah, sure.
But then if you do, that would be great too.
I mean, I think this is doable. I can work with you on this. I just have other things on my plate, but I'll even assign myself to this too. I think.
It was on my to-do list to play with watchers, right? So, and I guess this is a good use case.
All right. Well, we're over
Yeah,
time.
if you make
Thank
it work,
very
you
much.
make it
Quickly.
more like a common thing, so that maybe the SMF and all the other guys would be. Oh, actually, no. If you delete the operator, it deletes the whole thing. So yeah, so that everyone will benefit. That should be okay.
We need to join the package management meeting.
Okay.
Just quickly, we should focus on AMF instead of this.
Yeah. We said that we'll reach out, and if there's absolutely no response, then we will talk about it and reassign it to other people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Tal. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.